Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho. I've been putting off talking about quarterbacks for quite a bit, but I don't think I can avoid it any longer. These are my must draft QBs. Okay, so the reason why I haven't really talked about quarterbacks that much is because unfortunately they're not that relevant in fantasy football. For most leagues, you only need one, and because there's only 10 to 12 teams, only about 15 quarterbacks are relevant on a weekly basis. So that's why quarterback was not really my focus when making my videos, but I don't want to just ignore the position completely. So I just want to break down my strategy a little bit. What I need from a quarterback is a lot of touchdowns, a decent amount of yards, but ideally they need to have a rushing role to their game. The fact that they get points on the ground at a much higher rate than they do throwing the ball is what makes running quarterbacks cheat codes in fantasy. And if you can get them at great values, then they become league winners sometimes. I won my league a few years ago because I drafted Lamar Jackson in the 14th round, his MVP year. So because of that, it's not always necessary that you get the very best quarterback overall. I definitely agree that Patrick Mahomes, who's sitting here as the number one quarterback overall, is deserving of that spot. I wouldn't rank him out, as my number two quarterback. However, to take him 14th overall is pretty stupid. It really puts you at a disadvantage because you pass up on such elite talent elsewhere, especially at the running back position or the wide receiver position, that it just fucks your team in a way. So there's no way that I would take Mahomes in the second round. I consider him a value around pick 35, one of the last picks of the third round. Ideally, I get him in the fourth. Any higher than that feels like a mistake to me. So it's very rare that I get Patrick Mahomes. Moving on to Josh Allen, who's ranked as quarterback 2. This ADP is, again, too high for my taste, but I think when you get in more savvy drafts, when people are actually putting down money, they recognize that that's a mistake, and they usually wait on Josh Allen to at least the mid-fourth round. And I think the end of the fourth round is where I'm willing to take Josh Allen, somewhere around pick 46, 47. If I had to pick one player to be the MVP this year, it's actually Josh Allen. I think his team is extremely reliant on him. And given the upgrades at defense and how many wins I think this team is going to win, they're definitely the best team in their division. It's possible that the Bills have the number one seed in the AFC this year. They have a game against Kansas City. If they win it, they will have the tiebreaker. So if that happens, I think Josh Allen could finish the year with about 13, 14 wins for the Buffalo Bills, and that would catapult him clearly in the MVP conversation. It's not like the Bills didn't pay him a lot. They committed a really big contract to him just a couple weeks ago, and I think Josh Allen is going to finish the year as the number 2 quarterback in fantasy, just ahead of Kyler Murray, who is the last name in my elite quarterback tier. Kyler Murray, before he had the shoulder injury, was averaging about 30 fantasy points per game, and his rushing stats give him the boost you need to keep him firmly inside the top 5. He was seeing 8 rushes per game. He was their main goal line back, honestly. One of the reasons why Kenyon Drake was such a letdown in fantasy last year. And even though that's going to take a tick down this year, I think they want to protect him. I don't think that Cliff Kingsbury is good enough of a coach to set up the right type of plays where Kyler Murray isn't going to have to escape the pocket and have a lot of unplanned rushes this year. So ideally, he doesn't get hit that much and he can stay healthy. I don't think he's really going to miss time, but when he did have that shoulder injury, his stats did take a considerable dip. So that's why I'm just a little bit concerned to put Kyler Murray above Josh Allen. Just there's a little bit more injury risk, but the ceiling for all 3 of these players is at the top of the league, and they're definitely my top 3 quarterbacks. If I'm taking one, it's usually Kyler Murray because he usually offers the most value in the draft. However, I've seen Josh Allen slide to sometimes the 5th round in some best ball drafts, and if he goes to the 5th round, I think he's a really, really good value, and I'm not afraid to take a quarterback as high as round 4 as long as it's one of these 3. Ideally, it's in the 5th round, though. But all 4 of these players, if the ADP listed here holds, I would pass on each of them because the disparity between quarterbacks is not as big between the top 10 as it is at any other position. You're still getting players in the top 10 at quarterback who average more than 20 points a game, and it's really rare that any quarterback averages more than 28 points a game. Even Aaron Rodgers, as the MVP last year, was only getting 26 in regular half PPR scoring. So there's an advantage to waiting at quarterback because you're able to address the flex spot earlier. Sometimes you're able to get good depth on your bench, but you don't want to overlook the quarterback position either. And that's why getting a quarterback in this next tier, the next 5 quarterbacks available, is really important. The difference between them and the top 3 isn't that big, but the difference between them and everybody after them is quite significant. You can definitely rely on the top 10 so much more than you can any other quarterback outside the top 12. So that's why I really want to make sure I get one of these 5. The player I get most often in drafts is Tom Brady, and that's simply because of his ADP being the lowest. And at pick 72, let's see, in a 12-team league, that's the end of the 6th round. I think that's super, super fair. Ideally, you can get him a little bit later than that, but I'm not afraid to take him in round 6 if there's a big run on quarterback and I risk missing out on Tom Brady in the next round. So that's who I've been drafting the most. Tom Brady threw 40 touchdowns last year, 12 picks, more than 4,000 yards, and it's not like this team isn't dealing with a weird offseason like last year when he was a free agent. They're coming in as Super Bowl champions. They know how this offense runs. It was firing on all cylinders following week 13 of last year. That was their bye week. They went on an 8-0 win streak to close out the regular season and through the playoffs. This team is a surefire bet to score about 30 points every single week, and Tom Brady is really undervalued as quarterback 9. I have him as my quarterback 5, and to get him that late is a steal. I really love Tom Brady. I draft him the most among all of these quarterbacks in all of my mock drafts and best ball leagues this year. The next quarterback who I think is being very undervalued is Justin Herbert. He's going as quarterback 8, 58th overall, and I think in the 6th round he is a must draft player. I have him as my quarterback 4. He offers a pretty high rushing floor, and he fires a laser of a deep ball. So Justin Herbert has a lot of value. I am a Chargers fan, so maybe you think I'm biased, but he was on a tear last year, and I don't think that that's going to change this season. Justin Herbert also has a lot of rushing potential. He moves the ball really well. Just because the defense is going to be improved this year with a new coaching staff and Derwin James returning healthy, I don't think that Justin Herbert is going to throw the ball that much less than he did last year. This offense is going to be really electric, pardon the pun. But the difference in fantasy points that you get from Justin Herbert compared to Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, and Russell Wilson is minuscule. It really isn't that much. And to get him a full 10 picks later after Aaron Rodgers is just really good value. I think Justin Herbert and Tom Brady are the quarterbacks you really need to target, and make sure you get a quarterback in this top 9. That's really just the only thing I want to stress at the quarterback position. There are 2 elite tiers of quarterback, and the top 3 definitely has an advantage, but you have to take them so high in order to get them that it's more valuable to dip into this tier 2, the starting 9. I like Dak Prescott. He has a lot of volume in this offense, but I'm honestly concerned about the injury he sustained in his throwing shoulder. I don't like how cautious they've been in the preseason, and I'm just a little bit concerned that he gets held back a little bit and has to deal with pain throughout the year. As much as I like him, I think that I'm just willing to pass on him at pick 52. That's all. Aaron Rodgers is also a really good pick, but pick 48. I guess he's technically quarterback 5 in ADP. I don't think he's going to put up the exact same stats he did last year as an MVP, and he will be a top 10 quarterback. I'm not dismissing him in any way, but again, I just like Justin Herbert and Tom Brady even more than I do Aaron Rodgers, so I'm willing to pass on him. Russell Wilson is also kind of a pass, but not someone like I'm ruling out. I just think he doesn't have as much passing volume as I would like to see. Ideally, he would throw more than 35 pass attempts consistently, and he'd be allowed to cook, as people say. But there's a lot more games where he finishes with less than 250 passing yards for me to feel really comfortable taking him above these two players. I also play in a league that gives you bonus points for 300-yard games and 400-yard games. So that keep that in mind. I do get a little bit biased in that regard. Russell Wilson is definitely a great option, and he does have the rushing stats to keep his floor high. So again, I just want to hammer this point home again. You need to get one of these 9 quarterbacks in order to be competitive. Ideally, you get the last one drafted, and they slide to you as late as the 8th, 9th round. But I'm willing to take these guys as early as the 6th round, preferably the 7th round is where I want one of them. And if you don't get a top 3 tight end, take one of these quarterbacks before you take Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson, or even Mark Andrews. That is my strategy for quarterbacks. My name is Adam Riancho. Good luck in your draft. Thank you so much for watching Nice and Blunt.